I think of pop culture as kind of like as a feedback loop. It reflects broader attitudes, but then it shapes those attitudes, right? And it kind of creates this vicious cycle of reflecting and shaping and reflecting and shaping. So I know the one student was skeptical about Iron Man 3, but to me, Iron Man 3 and the Captain America movie, The Winter Soldier, are the two films that most directly try to kind of address, I think what you're talking about in some ways is the military industrial complex and the way in which we're all implicated in it, but we never think about the way in which we are implicated in it. And so, you know, Tony Stark is, of course, the military industrial complex. Iron Man 3 tries to like turn him into something different, right? Killian is the real military industrial complex. And Killian says essentially, I created the war on terror. Like I created the Mandarin. The Mandarin doesn't exist. He's an actor. Sorry, spoiler alert, that I hired to create, this terror because I can make money. So the film is meant to kind of criticize that, I think. But the problem is the only answer Iron Man has for it is to deploy his military industrial complex. Right? If we're expecting vigilantes, and one way that we might think about superheroes is that they are vigilantes. They operate outside the law, imposing their own justice, right? As long as we're relying on that, we're never going to question the military industrial complex. We're just questioning like good versions of it and bad versions of it. For example, in The Dark Knight, Batman does pretty much everything the Bush administration did to fight the war on terror. Extraordinary rendition. Yeah, he goes and gets Lau out of, I can't remember where Lau is, Singapore or whatever, and brings him back to Gotham. He does electronic eavesdropping. He does torture, right? It's a film that kind of is getting us to think about what we were doing in the war on terror. But my read of that film is that ultimately, because Batman's doing it, it's okay, right? We can trust Batman. He's a good guy. And that is a completely inadequate answer to the question that you're posing. I feel as if the superhero genre kind of comes with limits built into it that make it very difficult for it to criticize fully what I think the Winter Soldier wants to criticize, what I think Iron Man 3 wants to criticize. They want to criticize it, but they're also part of the Disney empire. They're also part of these mega movies that have to make how many gazillion dollars to justify budget and to continue making them. And ultimately, when you've got that commercial imperative, it's always going to blunt the social criticism that you might be trying to make. So to me, I see Marvel inching up towards a critique of what you're talking about, but ultimately I see Marvel always pulling its punches at the end, glancing away from the issue at the end.